My name is Kat, and today I'm hauling books. This video is being sponsored by Wattpad Books, so huge thanks to them, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit here. But as per usual, we're going to be kicking things off with a couple of BOOKSPLOSION books of the months. So first up, I have here Happily Ever Afters by Elise Bryant, and this is the BOOKSPLOSION book for May. This is a YA contemporary debut that came out earlier this year. We're following a 16-year-old girl named Tessa who wants to be an author. She wants to write swoony love stories about girls who look like her because she doesn't often see herself reflected in the pages of the romance novels she loves. When Tessa gets into this prestigious creative writing program, she's excited to finally share her stories, but she runs into a little bit of a problem when the words stop coming. Like, she has writer's block. Fortunately, her best friend has a solution. Tessa just needs to go out and have her own love story, so she's inspired again. So with a list of romance novel inspired steps, Tessa sets off to find her own happily ever after. But of course, it's not gonna be that easy or straightforward. And like many a romance novel heroine before her, Tessa finds herself in a bit of a love triangle. She's torn between the brooding artist who would make the perfect Prince Charming and her surprising bond with the sweet boy next door. This sounds so cute and so fun, and I am so here for it. If you're interested in joining us for the read-along this month, then be sure to check the description for all of the relevant BOOKSPLOSION details. Next up, I have here the BOOKSPLOSION Book of the Month pick for June, which is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. If you can't tell from the title, this is a Romeo and Juliet inspired story. It is the first book in a historical fantasy duology that takes place in 1926 Shanghai. This is about a blood feud between two rival gangs, and since it's Romeo and Juliet inspired, then you can probably figure that we're following a girl from one of these gangs and a boy from the other. Years ago, Juliet and Roma were in love, but then Roma betrayed Juliet and she went to New York, where she's been for the last 4 years. But now Juliet has returned to Shanghai to assume her role as heir for her gang. And of course, Roma is also the heir of the opposing gang. But when a monster in the shadows and a contagion threaten the city, Roma and Juliet have to put their grudges aside and work together, or else there's going to be no city left for either of them to rule. I am so excited to read this book. I've been wanting to read it since long before it even came out. I've just been putting it off a little bit because it is book one of a duology and I want to read the two books close together. But, you know, book two is coming out in a couple months here, so it's time. And again, if you're interested in joining our read-along, you can find all of the details down in the description below. The next book I have here is Homewrecker by Deanna Cameron, and I received this from Wattpad Books, so thanks again to them for sponsoring this video. This is a YA contemporary. It's a brand new release out today, so it is available now, and there's a link in the description if you want to learn more. This is about a teenage girl named Bronwyn who lives with her single mom, a drug addict, in a trailer, until a cataclysmic tornado tears through the trailer park and Bronwyn's mother is killed. Enter Bronwyn's estranged father, a well-respected senator who offers to take Bronwyn in to a family she has never met and who has proved over and over again that they don't want her. Struggling with this new world and this new family, Bronwyn is just trying to make sense of her life. But this whole situation gets infinitely more complicated when Bronwyn discovers that her mother's death might not be an accident. It's starting to look like she was murdered. This sounds like such an interesting read. You know, we've got part coming of age family drama and part murder mystery. Also, as someone who has spent many an hour on Wattpad, I am just really excited and intrigued to see that they are publishing original hardcover novels now. I cannot wait to check this one out. Next up, I have here Better Together by Christine Riccio. Now this is an advanced reader copy. The book actually comes out on June 1st, which is just 2 weeks from now. It's very soon. Now I have been friends with Christine for almost a decade now, so admittedly, I'm a little biased with my excitement for this book, but I love Christine's writing. Like, I genuinely think she is one of the funniest people I know. We have a very similar sense of humor. I've actually already read this book. Well, I read an early version. Also helped Christine with the outline for this book. So like, I've really been along for the journey. And I'm just really excited to see it finally released out into the world. I'm also excited to read the final version, which I'll have to get a copy of on June 1st. The next book that I have here is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. In my last book haul, when I mentioned that I was researching the secret online identity trope, several people recommended this to me, so I had to pick it up. In this book, we follow Pepper and Jack, who in real life are kind of rivals at school. Pepper is an overachiever perfectionist type, and Jack is like a class clown type, so they don't exactly get along. Their families are both in the restaurant industry, and Pepper and Jack each kind of secretly run the social media accounts for their family's restaurants. And under these restaurant social media accounts, they end up getting into a big Twitter beef over an allegedly stolen grilled cheese recipe. So when they're not antagonizing each other at school or battling it out in their viral Twitter war, they are actually becoming quite close on this anonymous chat app. And, you know, juggling all these different identities can't last forever. So yeah, this sounds really fun and like exactly the kind of book I want to read for my trope research. I'm especially intrigued by the fact that they each have like 2 secret online identities in addition to knowing each other in real life. That third layer to the trope is real interesting to me, and I'm very intrigued to see how it all plays out. Next up, I have here The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. On Twitter, I mentioned another trope that I am currently really interested in, and that is the fake hating trope, or the trope where 2 people pretend to be rivals or enemies, but secretly they are actually friends and or lovers. I've seen this trope a lot more in fanfic than I have in traditionally published novels. Like there's Good Omens, which basically invented this trope, and This Is How You Lose the Time War is another solid example. But I was looking for more, and this was recommended to me. In this book, we follow 2 people who work at a public radio station, and they end up being kind of coerced into hosting this new show together. The concept of this show that they're going to host is that 2 exes are going to give relationship advice live on air. The problem is that these 2 people, Shay and Dominic, they aren't actually exes. They are rivals, and they do despise each other, so their boss figures that's good enough. They'll just pretend to be exes, and it'll be fine. Neither Shay nor Dominic loves the idea of lying to their audience, but as the show gets more and more popular, and they start developing real feelings for each other, the deception just gets bigger and bigger, and getting caught could mean the end of more than just their careers. This sounds like exactly what I want when it comes to this fake hating trope. You know, they're pretending to be rivals, pretending to be exes, but secretly they are just beginning their romance. It's such a delicious recipe for shenanigans. I'm very into it. And I don't have a physical copy of this book. I was originally going to listen to the audiobook because I heard it was fantastic, but the ebook went on sale for like $1.99, so I had to swipe that up immediately. And finally, I have here The Extraordinaries by T.J. Klune. This is the first book in a series, and I picked it up mostly because I read another book by T.J. Klune, The House in the Cerulean Sea, and I adored it. It was one of my favorites of last year, and I wanted to read more by him, so I grabbed this. In this book, we follow a teenage boy named Nick who lives in a city where real heroes with superpowers save the day. And Nick is not a superhero, but he is a part of the fandom online. He spends his time writing fanfic about his favorite heroes and their romantic exploits. Until Nick has a chance encounter with the city's biggest superhero and also Nick's biggest crush. And suddenly, writing fanfic is not enough for him anymore. He wants to become a hero too. So he sets off to make himself something more, something extraordinary. This sounds like just my kind of read. I love superhero stories, and especially the aspect where Nick is a fanboy and he writes fan fiction and then he wants to be a hero. And the second book in the series is out in July, so I feel like this is a great time to get into this one. All right, that is it. Those are the books I wanted to talk about in this haul today, and that is gonna do it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will have another video up soon, so I will see you then. Bye!